We're live. Welcome back to another Podwans stream. We are going to be talking about House of the Dragon, but we're also going to be talking about the Rings of Power as well. Because they just dropped that San Diego Comic-Con trailer, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about both. But obviously, we're missing Char and Chase. Chase won't be on much for these House of the Dragon episodes. He's not too huge of a fan.
They really love House. You know, you can obviously tell by their appearance there.
Yeah. Fire, Fire and Blood. You know that book. Yeah, you know that book. But no. With me tonight, I've got Hereth and our good friend. Half of the Stark sisters, which, by the way, what's going on with that? Is that dead?
Look, man, if you've got me editing 2 reactions and a lore video a week, you expect me to also keep up with Game of Thrones reactions I have archived?
No, I mean, like, what? So you've been doing reactions by yourself?
Yes. Mm-hmm. That is that's just because of mix up in Cal's schedule. That was just simply because the first one they could do, and then a few of the others they just, I think with work it was a bit too tight, and fair play. But I've been having other people on, but no, it's been good with House so far. I've really enjoyed it. I think Hereth actually joined me for Rook's Rest.
Yes, I did.
By the way, that's
3.
By the way, okay, so we haven't really if you are watching this back, you have seen all of our reactions. I so far the season has been hitting. I think the one critique I would say about House of the Dragon is the one story point is Daemon needs to get the fuck out of Harrenhal.
Okay, on this we're all united on.
He needs to get out of Harrenhal, but I understand why they're keeping him there, because you have to make Rhaenyra and Daemon realize that they need each other for the common goal, and that's what's happening here.
The point I have with that more is not necessarily the amount of time he's been in Harrenhal, but the direction they were taking him. Now, I'm not going to stand here and say that Daemon Targaryen is a perfect man. He most certainly is not, and I would never claim as such. But I think in episode 5 in particular, and I know we are talking about episode 6, I think episode 6 actually did his visions the best we've seen so far.
No, yeah, agreed. Agreed.
However, episode 5 pushed it. If they went any further with what they're doing in 5, for me, I would have had serious.
That was a little weird.
Serious criticisms of the show, because you're taking Daemon's potentially one redeeming quality in that he's supporting his wife, and you're going, you know what? We'll make him, have sex with his mother and just forget all about.
Well, not even just sex with his mother thing. It's also the whole when Alice Rivers is getting on him, and he's like I'm gonna take King's Landing with Rhaenyra. That
as well.
It's very much the implication of Daemon's seizing for power. He doesn't give a shit about Rhaenyra.
Here's the other thing though, and Josh and JJ and I had talked about this during the reactions, the number, the visions had to lead to somewhere, right? If you look at all of the things that have been happening to him specifically, he's looking back at his past transgressions against his family, not only of himself but of his family. And we're getting, it starts with young Rhaenyra, and then it goes from young Rhaenyra to other folks, and then finally we get to the root of the problem is Viserys. If they didn't have Viserys and it was Rhaenyra again, then I would have been like, what are we doing here? Well, we all know where the root of his problem is. It's that he was being neglected by his brother. He didn't accept the love that Viserys was trying to give him, and he needed to come to terms with that. And I think this episode, specifically for Daemon, you're absolutely right, Bale. They nailed it. They nailed the visions.
I think the importance is the contrast of how Daemon views these events. And if you look in the beginning of the visions, you're seeing these things which are obviously trying to trip Daemon up with guilt. But what does he do when he sees young Rhaenyra on the throne? He chops her head off. He doesn't really. These don't move him. These are mistakes that he's made, and he's overlooking because he's just made them. Daemon is very kind of like that. The second he makes a mistake, he goes off all high and mighty, takes Caraxes on a little bit of a foreign holiday, and runs away from his problems. And when you look at it here, when he's faced with current problems, he's like, no, not going to touch those. And then when you go down to the kind of deeper roots of his issues, where he had this relationship with his brother, and towards the end, you kind of really see, okay, no, he does actually care about him. But he's not shown it. And he's shown it because he was so focused and steadfast on, I deserve to be what Viserys is, which is the very kind of crux of the issue with Daemon, is that I want. It's very much what Aemon is like, and that is why there is such a strong parallel between the two characters. However, I think deliberately what they're doing is they're showing issues that Daemon actually does care about, and then they're using that as a wake-up call to go, yeah, no, you need to sort your stuff out, man. Like, and I think I think that using Viserys was a really was the key to the door of kind of just unlocking that for Daemon. Specifically the last one as well, and you can see after it that how moved he is. I mean, when have we seen Daemon Targaryen shedding a tear? Like, that's in itself.
Well, and in and of itself, it's like, again, they finally got to the root of the problem. Like, and if you notice, when he sees Viserys in this light, Viserys isn't acting as if he was when he confronted him the first time. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, he was hurt. It's what Daemon didn't see in the words that he was saying, that Viserys was saying to him, that were hurting him. And that's bringing Paddy Constantine was brilliant. Brilliant, because he absolutely destroyed the scenes that he was in. Because we didn't get to see him grieve Emma. We didn't get to see him
didn't.
Things. And it just went from Emma dying to him marrying Alicent, and there's like no time in between for that grief to really settle in.
There was only really the funeral scene, and that was really kind of brief. That was maybe 5 minutes of episode 1, and then you move on to episode 2, where
they sprinted through it so fast.
He's kind of sitting in his misery a little bit, but Alicent Hightower's right there, and he kind of just gets distracted because she starts giving him Legos to play with. So,
which by the way, last episode remember he had
it was the
dropped
exact dragon.
It was the
one
dragon.
Split.
And in this episode, there are parallels to when she gets slashed in the wrist. It's the same spot where Rhaenyra gets slashed by Alicent. So it's parallels that they are making, and I think that is so beautifully done. The show is doing a lot. It's doing a lot without having to slam it in your face, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think it also really paralleled an episode of Game of Thrones in season 2 when Joffrey's outside the set. In fact, I'm pretty sure the exact same thing happens to Joffrey that happens to Alicent, with the minor exception of the cut on her wrist. It's the throwing something in the face, Kingsguard go nuts, start attacking people, piss off the small folk more, essentially. And then boom. That seems to be kind of what's happened.
But let's that's kind of like what we've talked about this episode so far. I think the biggest thing for this episode was the dragon lore.
Yes.
And it specifically kind of changing things, obviously Rhaenyra and obviously in the book, there are this plan does come from Jace, and it's very lore accurate, at least to that point. And it's so, I was like, I didn't know that Stefan was gonna die. He was gonna roast.
See,
like, I didn't remember that. So
I was doing a lore video on Alice Rivers, and I was recording it the day before, and I kept having to reread bits of Rise of the Dragon to try and basically use as reference to make sure I'm not chatting bollocks. The one thing I read before the episode is Answer Stefan Darkland died. I'm like, I forget that happened. God,
no, like we're watching it in the reaction, and I'm like, is this really? Nah, he's dead, right?
Yeah.
And then he dies, and I'm like, oh my god! But the way they do it, he was a real one. Like, Rhaenyra should have been like, nah, you're not you're too loyal. Like, I can't have you die.
Well, it's also Josh's commentary and the reaction always kills me while it's editing it. Just the whole like, because T-Smoke is just ultimately just screwing with him in the worst ways possible. Be like, yeah, I'm gonna make you think that I'm with you, but yeah, I'm gonna flip it on you the last second.
I think
it's
also
so cruel.
What they've kind of added there, and this is, I think, deliberate on their point, is they added little things with Sir Stefan to like precede this to kind of make you think maybe he will. You've got the whole thing of him coming back and hearing about the death of all the Darklands at Duskendale, and him going, my father, and obviously his father's had his head's had the snip by Kristen Cole. And you have that, and then you have these other moments, and you're like, I think, it makes sense for him we want him to have his revenge against the Greens for the kind of war crimes they've inflicted on. Oh no, he's been burned alive by Seasman.
And we'll talk about that as well. Like, that is happening.
Mm-hmm.
They've already set the groundwork for that, especially with, and by the way, let's get hats off to fucking Rhaenyra and Team Black for using their resources, which is genius. It's, and like Alanis was saying during the reaction, it's great political warfare. It's not just warfare, it's political warfare.
I mean, this is one thing as well that I saw a lot of people complaining about the episode, is saying, oh, well, why was it focusing so much on the small folk? The small folk are central to this, and is such an overlooked aspect of this. Like, the entire point of this war is to choose who rules over them, who is their superior. They have no say in this, and they're kind of treated a lot of the time by Game of Thrones, and I think this kind of comes down to Game of Thrones. The small folk,
well, in Westeros, he
treaded over, never really given much regard, and Game of Thrones didn't really give any kind of power to that, with the exception of season 2.
And a little, and I mean later on, later seasons of this show, we know.
In this show,
play a very very important role, and I mean also the small folk also need to be the ones that are heard, because if you go back in Westerosi, like politics, like, they can make a lot of noise.
They can,
and they do.
Yeah. What I was getting at, was that Game of Thrones hadn't really done much of a job at giving credit to the small folk, but obviously House of the Dragon is showing that, which is why I didn't really understand that kind of whole take with the episode. But the move in itself was genius, and it actually shows. I mean, hell, if the Kingsguard hadn't intervened the way they had, they could have been the death of 2 members of the royal family.
Which, by the way, another thing, like, Aegon, this is why you don't give your friends positions. Like, if you really think about it, if it would have been like trained knights, trained Kingsguard, like, a guy wouldn't have lost his hand. They wouldn't have been attacked. Allison wouldn't have gotten hurt. Helena wouldn't be traumatized for the 14th fucking time this season. Like, literally, how much more can we put poor Helena through? She's seen the kid get his head chopped off. She's seen him literally thrown paraded around the city. And then her mom takes her to the god, whatever it is, Septa Baelon, right? Is that Septa Baelon? No, it's not. Is it Septa Baelon?
It's the Sept of Baelor.
Yeah.
Is it Septa Baelor? I didn't know if, because Baelor's before this, right?
Baelor, no, sorry, it's not. No, it's I don't.
No, it's not the Sept of Baelor, because he's
Sept
after
Baelor
it.
yet. Baelor is Baelor is after. I believe he is he's either the brother or son of the next Daeron, the one that brings Dawn into the fold. But yeah, no, sorry, I think it's just referred to as the Sept currently, and it's then referred to the Sept of Baelor.
Because he's more, he becomes more religious. But like think about that though. Helena's been out of anybody, her and Corlys have been through the most this season.
Yeah.
I mean, also, just to add to the pile, well, Aegon was an arse. Well, there's no other kind of way to put it. She was still kind of involved with him to some extent, whilst I'm sure she didn't like him much. The fact that she's also seen her, and she knows it was Aemond that did it.
That confirmation.
That was
how
very
much
important.
was it worth the cost?
Was it worth it? Was it worth
so
it?
She's, I think she's a lot more aware of what goes on than people would actually think. Like, she knows Aemond's involvement. I'm sure she knows of Alicent's kind of various transgressions as well. She knows that Alicent was sleeping with Kristen Cole when he should have been on
Been in her room.
Dude,
Bro.
I'm going to go on a like tirade here. This is the goddamn second time that a royal child has been besmirched on Kristen Cole's Night Watch. I don't know what he was doing in Driftmark, but Aemon got his eye taken. I don't know what he was doing. Well, we know what he was doing when Blood and Cheese was going on. He was, well, involved with Alicent.
He was shagging.
He does this twice. Also beats a man to death at a royal wedding. Just
I will say this, like takes place in Harrenhal. That's not gonna happen. What Charlie is referring to is going to
season.
That's not
easy.
That's season three.
The timeline doesn't add
three.
up.
That's late season 3.
That's probably
how spoilery are we going here? I'm not going to talk about the specifics of what Char is referring to. I'm going to talk about what has to happen first.
Well, I would say let's try to keep it to non-spoilery as possible.
I would say the best way to say it is just God Eyes is not happening until season 3.
Yeah, the God's Eye, the Battle of the God's Eye will not happen until season 3.
Daemon leaves Harrenhal and does some other stuff before that happens.
Oh yeah.
To put it that way.
Yeah.
But the Mazzaria kiss scene, that was something that took me a little bit off guard. I won't lie. But and I talk about this in my breakdown.
I love that.
Should be releasing probably tomorrow. Depends when I get it rendered. I think it was an absolute masterwork because it really shows Rhaenyra finally having this one moment of just comfort, of pleasure. Like if you look at her timeline, you finish season 1, you have her miscarrying her child, her son dies, Rhaenys dies, her father dies as well, not because I forgot to add that one into the mix. We've also got the death of Sir Eric and Sir Eric in front of her. We've got the loss of Maelys and Rhaenys in terms of the effect that's going to have on her council. Her council constantly berating her and being honestly.
Oh, her slapping the shit out of that guy was awesome.
And I think the way you can put her council and summarize it to a T is they're not trying to give her advice. They're trying to tell her how to do her job. Advising. Yeah. That's very much one thing. Telling them how to rule, very, very separate, and that is quite clearly it's mansplaining, really, is what it is. But
coming from three white guys dudes on a podcast.
Oh, we're definitely proud to talk about that.
Yeah, but no, I think Rhaenyra has done Aemon has caused the most pain out of anybody this season, and he does not give a single shit.
He has no shame.
He doesn't. Why? But why would he?
He's like Daemon in his youth. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, Daemon completely disregarded his brother's feelings completely and didn't really care about him. Well, granted, Viserys wasn't really an abuser of Daemon like Aegon was. Although this is a point that I find kind of odd. That doesn't justify burning someone alive. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
I get it. I've had bullies as a kid. That doesn't mean that if I had a dragon now, well, with the exception of a couple, I wouldn't go out and just completely burn them. That's not how life works. Like you get a little bit of hardship, respect. You're also a royal prince with the biggest dragon in the world. Back up. You've got some good things to look forward to in your life, mate.
Well, and
you got your missus down in the in Flea Bottom. You can spend another night cuddling with her.
Whoa! By the way, I think
Aemon's going to kill her.
Yeah. What?
I think Aemon's going to kill his former mistress in Flea Bottom.
Probably. I mean, and then take up Alice Rivers.
He needs a new mommy.
Well, I think it's going to just be a moment where she realizes, because she's kind of had these altercations with him where she's been like, "Can you kind of care about the small folk?" And she's been like, "Yeah, no, I felt bad about killing Luke. So I'm glad because most people don't care, and it's the small folk that suffer." And now Aemon's going to see her basically talking behind his back, for want of a better phrase, and she's going to realize, oh, he
And here's the other thing, though. Like that guy who said that he,
talking about Viserys's bastard stepbrother.
Ulf the White.
Yes.
Ulf the
Yes.
Silent.
I forgot. I completely forgot that they had that there was a bastard of
Well, that was another point of contention, in that I do not believe that many of the dragon seeds were named as to how they are related, and a lot of people did get kind of upset with the idea that Balon and Alyssa, well, Balon cheated on Alyssa because supposedly their relationship was kind of akin to Ned Stark and Catelyn, akin to Corlys and Rhaenys. Doesn't mean it's impossible, but I think the suggestion from like Fire and Blood is that he was very faithful, so a lot of people were a bit like, yeah, no, we don't like that, which is it's kind of understandable, but I'm interested to know if he's telling the truth on that, because it'd be a pretty big thing, and I'd quite like to see Daemon reacting to someone claiming to be his stepbrother. I feel like that would be a very, very enjoyable sequence, and I wonder if someone else's tongue will be taken as of it. I think that would be quite funny.
But going back to the Aemon and Alice River things, I love how they foreshadowed that, like in episode 5, of like Daemon being like, "Yeah, you wouldn't want to meet Aemon." I find it so funny.
I don't know if I was the only one to notice this. When Daemon is saying that line, and he would sooner cut you down than wish you good day. He said that like Aemon would, and I think this could have been purely coincidental. But if you go back and watch that scene, to me, it sounds more like Daemon is doing an Aemon impression in that one line when talking to Alice about him than going back to his normal speaking voice. It could just be a coincidence. Or just
you think he's doing a good impression of you and Mitchell in the scene?
I honestly think like that. Well, just that one line to me sounds very, very similar. But that's just how I view
Yeah.
it.
And then again, as a whole, like I really do agree with everyone. I think like the Daemon stuff is going a little too far. I'm hoping with the way that the trailer is for next week that it looks like we're near the end of Harrenhal for this season.
Thank God. I am so tired of it. Not gonna lie, this last Vision scene part was good. Was good. Don't get me wrong, it was good. But I need Daemon and Rhaenyra to be back on screen together. Because they are stronger. Even in the book, Daemon has a unwavering support to Rhaenyra to a point.
He does, but I think Harrenhal was not kind of... Daemon kind of just goes to Harrenhal in the book. We don't know any of the kind of insider information of where and why, which admittedly, but the insinuation is certainly there. And I think that is eventually what we're gonna kind of get to. I did see a couple leaks for the next episode, which I'm not going to discuss because I don't like people discussing leaks.
Yeah, fuck you.
But yeah, I think this is definitely going to conclude Daemon at Harrenhal, and even from the coming next week that we saw from HBO at the end of last week's episode, that did show the River Lords all coming to Harrenhal.
Well, and here's the thing: he's going to have to make a example out of the Blackwoods. He's going to have to. They pillaged and killed people on not under his. They didn't do it under the Blackwood banner. They did it under the Black Targaryen sigil. So now everyone thinks that Daemon had a hand in that when he specifically told Blackwood in what episode 5? 5 or no?
4. It was 4, I believe.
No, the one where he's threatening the...
Oh, no, because, yeah, that is 5, sorry.
That's 5.
Right.
He specifically told him the crown cannot be involved in this. You take care of it in any means necessary. Do you understand what I'm saying? And the guy said, fuck that. We're going to be doing it under the Targaryen because it'll look like, hey, Daemon told us to do this. It wasn't just because we have a feud with the Brackens and the Blackwoods.
Of course.
That's the whole point. And he has to make a decision because he has to keep the Riverlands in check. And the only way he does that is by punishing the Blackwoods for stepping out of line. And you know he is in a sense, he will do anything to keep that power. And he doesn't, and he knows the game. He knows how to play the game. Maybe not as well as others, but he knows how to play it. and he's going to make an example out of them. I mean, look at what he did in the Stepstones. The guy was talking, and he literally punched him in the face and beat him down with his freaking helmet.
Oh, that thing's
in season 1.
It's that thing's made of some pretty hefty metal. Like that's gonna. I would be surprised if the guy walked away from that being beaten in the head.
So like that's my thing. Like he's gonna have to make an example. And we saw in the trailer, one of the trailers, that he was executing someone.
I have a theory
in front of the werefoot, right in the werewood. I think it's Blackwood. I have a theory on that. This is the problem because it's kind of insinuated by a leak. However, it makes sense without the knowledge of the leak. And from the episode that I saw the leak before this episode, and it was a leak from something else. However, from watching this episode, I would have come to the same conclusion. Is it all right if I share it? Or leave it? I'm happy to leave it. Okay. I think he kills Otto Hightower. No. It's too early. It's too early.
It is.
Otto Hightower is going to end up going back to King's Landing.
But why have they put such an emphasis on where he is? They've done that. They did that 3 times in the last.
Yeah, I thought the implication that Otto was already dead by this point. I thought that was the implication that they're making up. Like, Otto would have responded by now. Otto's been so busy. Otto's...
But like, okay, so like the older brother said, if he has, he will send a raven if there's news to give.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to give a hand. He's not going to risk the enemy knowing where he is at.
No, however, the very insinuation of why would they make Alicent worry about it then? Why would they have because they didn't have it happen just once when he went, oh, have you heard from father recently? Oh no, he's just kind of does his own thing, and he'll let us know when it's relevant. I
wouldn't like that. I'm gonna be straight up with you. I wouldn't like that.
I'm not saying that this is definitely gonna happen. This is just I think they deliberately put emphasis on this point. And we also know that he was heading to Highgarden, I believe, was the last place he was sent by Alice.
Yeah, but like Harrenhal and Highgarden are so far away from each
I didn't
other.
say he got intercepted at Harrenhal. If he was intercepted by any of the Riverlords.
Oh, are you talking? Well, there's not. Oh, wait, hold on. No, that actually makes sense now.
Mm-hmm. I'm not saying because Harrenhal's out of the way.
No,
Luke is doing math. Luke is doing 1 + 1 = 2.
I know. Okay, I know what you're doing. No.
This is for my own.
Bale,
this is my
Bale,
own.
I know. No, Bale, I know. I know now what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about because, again, he still has to make it to King's Landing. Who's to say that shot isn't in King's Landing?
I think
because there is the werewood tree in King's Landing from season 1.
Yes. We'll stop with this whole theory, and if it's we'll talk about that later.
Again, I love Daemon sneaking into King's Landing multiple times in one season.
I will say very, very quickly, if you look at where King's Landing is positioned, and if you are taking a road to Highgarden, it's possible that one of those paths could take you through the Riverlands. So that is all I will say on that point. I think it's entirely possible, and it
could, but highly unlikely.
And specifically that shot, I don't think that happens at King's Landing. The lighting's weird. It looks like it's at Harrenhal.
But it doesn't make sense for him to kill him there. It doesn't.
It's the High Towers that write this history, though. That's the thing. And I know the whole kind of this is a biased narrative argument can seem kind of defeatist, but it really has been kind of proved to show that they will just try and put the High Towers in best light as possible. And in fact, there was a moment, and this is something I noted when I think it was in episode 5, Regent. If you notice that when Alicent tries to make a play for Regent, who tries to support her? The Maester does. In fact, you can hear him kind of trying to say something, or at least he tries to have some kind of protest, and that to me would insinuate that they will try and cover up any cock-ups of the High Towers. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying I think it's well within the realms of possibility, and honestly would fit within the constraints of Fire and Blood. satisfactory.
Well, I would also add we're talking about how the history is biased towards the Hightowers. We have the moment in episode 5 when Alicent's going around being like, "What happened with Aegon?" and she's questioning everybody. It makes sense that history is written in a way to make it sound like Aegon was intended to be there from the start when he really wasn't, and the Maesters just kind of made that shit up.
Yeah, he had a DUI
again,
on Sunfire.
Narrative unreliable narrators.
Exactly, and I think that could apply in this instance. But again, I do see what you're saying, Luke, and I think it is entirely possible that I could be spewing absolute rubbish.
Because I think, and this is my theory, I think Otto will show up next episode back in King's Landing. Daron is going to be leading the forces in with the Hightower force.
The Hightowers will be marching up from.
I agree.
Yes,
also with how much emphasis been putting on Daron.
Well, and Otto's not a warrior.
No.
Why the fuck? And plus, his brother's going to be the one that's leading the forces with Daron.
I don't believe I think his brother's too old at this point. If you look at it, I don't know in Fire and Blood if that's the case, but if you look at him in season 1, he looks pretty much the same. Well, he has to be older than Otto, doesn't he? Because Otto is the second son, and Otto's in his 60s. Granted, Mace Tyrell did lead a whole bunch of things, but I honestly don't imagine a Hightower doing that.
I mean, what's to say that it's not him, or let's say it's the older brother's son who's leading it.
Yeah,
just Daron at this point is leading it. But Otto does not strike me as a person that is going to go out into open battle and fight.
No,
he's not. He's more useful in King's Landing, being the hand for Aemond.
But also, if they're gonna say, "Oh, go to the High Garden," why would they not show him negotiating with them?
Because they don't have time.
Weird. But why say specifically?
Because they want
to negotiate with this massive house from Game of Thrones that you all know and love.
Because they're trying to time constraints, because you're not going to spend a whole scene or 2 scenes in Highgarden with Otto talking to a family.
Yeah.
But didn't they already do that with Jacaerys earlier in the season?
Also, I'm pretty sure they should have, if Otto Hightower, so the exact thing that Gawain Hightower said was Otto Hightower will send news when there's news to send. If the Tyrells weren't joining their calls, that would be news to send.
Exactly. That's the other thing.
He either hasn't reached Highgarden in this time,
or he has, and everything is going to plan, and he doesn't need to send any messages.
Know what happens from Fire and Blood. The Tyrells don't join.
Well, I don't know.
I'm merely saying it's within the realm of possibility.
I don't think it's in the. I think it could be, but I don't. I think it's very highly.
That's fair. That's fair. I was just kind of poking at the possibility.
They have changed things from the book to the show,
but I feel like it's a pretty big thing.
And I feel like the show. And I know I've seen people, and I guess we could segue into this. I feel like a lot of people that are watching the show, right, that if they are book readers, they're being too picky, and they're not being fair to the content that is being released. And I always feel like, guys, this is not going to be a 1-to-1 telling, because if so, what's the point of making a show when we have the book?
Also, what's the point?
It's an adaptation anyway.
If you're going to have a go about accuracy to the book, okay, whose storyline are you going to tell? The Maesters, the Septons, or the Dwarfs? You're going to pick one and you're going to go with it, or you're going to just pick your favorite outcome of each of the 3 and name that as the canon event. That doesn't work. Fire and Blood is too unreliable of a source to have everything dictated as a 1-by-1 representation. You can, by all means, argue that you didn't like how Alicent and Rhaenyra have been portrayed. I've seen that argument. I kind of understand it, but at the same time, I prefer a little bit more complexity. Not to say that it couldn't be complex the other way around. But I think it's a very saying, oh, the books are better or it's nothing like the book is a very, very bad argument. Really.
Yeah, especially when you're not having it in good faith. Especially when you're not having it in good faith. That's my problem.
Yeah, I mean,
Hereth, go ahead.
I mean, no, it's just people hate watching the show. Like I've seen that a lot of people being like, "Oh my god, oh my god, they ruined Allison because Allison is younger," or "Oh my god, Rhaenyra is not cruel enough. They made her too much like Daenerys, so the show sucks." Like XYZ, name your arguments. Or "Oh my god, they removed Nettles, so the show is the absolute worst thing ever to exist."
Also, the review bombing on this episode because 2 women kissed.
Oh yeah, like it being ranked the 4th worst across Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. Like, what the fuck?
It's ranked at like the same kind of ends of the end of Game of Thrones season 8. That's where it's currently standing on like IMDb, which it's
not even close.
Oh, it was really and we haven't even gotten to the best part.
No,
Sir Alan. Like we got hints of it earlier this season with Sea Smoke kind of fucking around with Laenor, or not with Laenor, but with Alan. It's Alan, right? Or is it Adam?
Adam is the one that rides Sea Smoke. Alan is his brother.
Oh, okay.
I believe. I may have it wrong.
And he gets a certain wait.
Alan is the guy that's bald. Adam is the guy with hair.
Yeah. They both. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to get into that.
They are both. Yeah, that was confirmed in this episode. They're both bastards.
Yeah. No. I knew that. I'm talking Dragon Riders. Only one of them is.
Yeah, Adam.
It's Adam.
Yeah, Adam.
Yeah. No, I think he follows the kind of whole naval thing. Or that's the suggestion at least.
Yeah. But Sea Smoke basically being like, "Yo, y'all don't pick that for me. I picked the writer."
I actually have a funny thing about this. I commented on the actor Clinton Liberty, I believe is his name. Apologies if I've misspoken or I misquoted his name. I commented on a thing saying this is incredibly How to Train Your Dragon coded. I love it. And he liked the comment and responded with 3 fire emojis. So I'm taking that as verbal confirmation from the actor himself. This is How to Train Your Dragon coded. I'm taking it, but
yeah,
it was a really good sequence. It was really good.
But like in the fact that Sea Smoke was just like, well, I guess if Laenor's not going to come back, I guess I can always go for you know.
There was a guy on TikTok that did Not Like Us. He did a Sea Smoke version.
Yeah,
no, I haven't seen that.
I'll make sure I send it to you. It's
that is hilarious. That is funny as hell.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
But yes, it breaks dragon lore to a point. Because I mean,
we don't.
Laenor
could be dead.
Like
Laenor could be dead.
He went off to go fight in wars in the Stepstones. That's the whole thing he decided to do. And the chances of him in like the next 10 years not being, and also note that like you said, of late Sea Smoke has been. That means recently,
recently
has been lonely, suggesting that recently that bond has been severed because Laenor has died. That's how I choose to interpret it. By all means, say the show's.
I think that's the best way to do it because that's the safe way of doing it. Like it's the easy way to do it. Like you don't have to try to explain things. You don't have to go into really big detail. And I mean, it wouldn't be the first time we've had an off-screen death by a character. Look at Jon Arryn.
Yeah,
huge major player in Game of Thrones. He dies off screen.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be the first time. It definitely won't be the last time we see a character that dies like that. But I mean, there is so much more that is going to happen this season. I mean, we only have 2 more episodes left.
That is where I have a slight amount of concern, and I won't lie on that point. I think I am slightly concerned at how much, because I have my own predictions for how much they're going to cover in this season. I did my own video on that on my YouTube, but I'm kind of worried with how they're going to squeeze that into 2 episodes because. And I think this falls into the same issue that I had with the Acolyte, in that I find a couple of the episodes are too slowly paced. And then, so you've got one, episode 4 is a prime example of action and it's the perfect mix, in my opinion, right? Mm-hmm. Admittedly, you can't have a Rook's Rest in every episode. That's not what I'm suggesting. but the way that it was paced, I really liked it. And you've got episode 1 drive straight into it. Episode 2 drives kind of straight into the consequences of episode 1. Episode 3 is kind of a weird middle ground. Then you've got episode 4. Episode 5 is in a kind of weird middle ground. And then 6 is kind of a weird middle ground. And then they're going to kind of blast through these last 2 eps. I feel like they could have changed 5 and 6 around a little bit. I won't say it goes far to claim that they've done anything wrong in
5 and 6 could have easily been one episode. Easily.
But I think at points they've dragged it out too long in certain segments and rushed through it too quickly in others.
And here was my biggest complaint with the Alkalite. Give us hour-long episodes. If you're gonna give us 8 episodes, make them an hour long. And here's the other thing. Like HBO has no problem making their episodes an hour long.
They make them more than I think.
It's like 73 minutes, 73 minutes and 63 minutes. I think the finale. 73 minutes and 71 minutes. I think it is, but like
something like that.
Dude, that finale is gonna be absolute batshit
insane.
Crazy. I think this next episode, on Sunday is gonna be wild.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think this. Here's my prediction. I think Rhaenyra takes the throne at the end of the season.
Oh, easily.
Oh yeah, no, me and Bale have been talking about that for the longest time. That feels like the perfect season finale.
And
the Path of the Gullet.
Yeah. But here's the problem. There are players that are not in play yet for the Gullet, though.
Like,
there are dragon riders that haven't gotten their dragons yet.
Next episode.
Next episode. They're not.
Rhaenyra is looking for new dragon riders, and yes, you have Adam, but we still got a couple others.
But the problem is, some of these people have not even been discovered as the lineage yet.
Next episode.
Yeah, but that's not enough time to do that.
Not gonna be, well, that's exactly why I'm concerned. There's also a shot from one of the promotional. I think it was showing a review from The Guardian, and it was a shot of the sea with a lot of ships on it, and they weren't Valarian ships. So that led me to believe, we could be seeing that this season. And the only reason I'm talking about it is because this is official material that's being released.
Also, like Bale is saying, if we want to get to what we're talking about in the season finale, which I feel like that is the perfect point to end season 2, because you can't just start with that in episode 3. You have to do gullets. There's no way around it.
There's no way around it. I feel like they either have to open the next season with it, or they have to end this season with it. And to me,
I would rather
makes
end
more
it with this
sense
season.
ending it with it this season.
The problem I have with that is a certain dragon dies in it.
It's going to be devastating.
And that dragon has not even it's been touched on, but not nearly as much as I think it should be. It's a big player. It's a big player in this whole thing. Really?
I want to make sure we're talking about the correct dragon here.
Starts with a V.
Yeah, no, that's not a problem. I don't think
it kind of is, though.
Easily dwarfed by any of the other dragons. Like of all of them,
Daddy.
of all of them, I feel like this is the one that can go, and this is the one that will give the most devastating effect. And also, if you look at how
we've only seen it twice.
Yeah, that's
how
the
is
show's
that going to be more?
That's
why I don't think that the gullet is going to happen this
perfectly
season.
Fair.
Because I feel like you have to build those characters up and build those bonds to make that a lot harder to taste.
I think
that would be that would be confusing, because season 3, it's like, how are you going to do this, that, and then all of season 3?
You make it 12 episodes. That's how you do
They're
it.
They're not going to do it.
Why not?
Because the budget would get blown out of the water.
They're not. The CGI dragons this season probably cost them like
a shit ton of money.
Well, I mean, they would probably make back everything that they would do. It smashes.
Yeah, but still, that doesn't mean that they're not going to be apprehensive to do it.
Luke, this isn't theatrical film. This is streaming. They're not going to make most of their money back.
They don't make the movies will get if this was a movie, they would have made a lot more money. But yeah. And also
Still
to kind of further,
it's still a Song of Ice and Fire.
True. To further what I was saying, you also have the coming next week, which is showing things leading up to what could be the Battle of the Gullet, e.g., leaving the Vale. They're all leaving the Vale, I believe. There's a shot of a procession, and it seems to have Joffrey at least in it. You can't see Aegon or Viserys, but they're both presumably there because it's a procession, and you see Rhaenyra kind of looking back over the hills. I just think that's personally, I don't see them pacing and putting that into next season without it causing more disruption.
True.
Than not. That's the main thing I have here. But yeah, and you guys got bet on the money there.
No, yeah,
Lou, you gotta pay $30.
No, I'm not
a
paying
month
anymore.
to
God damn it!
Watch HBO Max's 12-episode seasons of House of the Dragon.
While I'm on it, can I just vent quickly about how terrible it is watching it in the UK? Right?
Yeah, y'all have to watch it at
we have
1.
to watch it live. And we have to watch it at 2 a.m. live with ad breaks, even if you've paid to have them removed, because it's the live version. You get 20 minutes worth of adverts.
I've watched the adverts. Wow, they're horrible.
They are terrible.
That's wild, y'all.
To remove them, but they say, "Oh no, we'll remove the ads on the on-demand streaming service, not on the live one."
Hey, guess what?
Yeah,
that's when you get a VPN that changes your location.
They can blacklist you so quickly with those now. It's like I would, do believe me, I would. However,
we probably shouldn't be talking about VPNs on.
We do not endorse this over at Podwans. Absolutely not.
Not an ad, not a sponsor.
However, if you were to be a disgusted, dirty felon, then
this podcast is not sponsored by ExpressVPN.
How do people get those ads? Like, how do they get that contract with that company, but can still review things? I don't know. Oh, because they get it early. They get the episodes early. That's why.
But
anyway,
yeah, watching it in the UK is an absolute nightmare.
And that sucks.
Why don't they just release the episode to on-demand streaming services? No. You have to watch it live on Sky. No one likes Sky unless you watch sports. That's the only reason you have Sky. And I don't like sports. I'm a nerd. Look at the bookshelf. You think I watch sports? Seriously? You're going to look at that and think, oh, yeah.
I'm definitely in the same boat as Bale. I definitely do not watch sports.
Yeah, not a chance. It's not like I've been spending 150 hours on the new college football game.
I will use the Euros to take an excuse to go down to the pub and have a few pints and shout, it's coming home, when it never bloody will. But it's... it's defeatist. I don't know.
Oh my god, that is so funny. But anyway, so far I've really liked this season. Can't wait. I feel like every week, minus what episode was it that I really didn't care for? Was it no, it wasn't 4, it was 5. Yeah, it was 5. I could have gone without it, but it was okay, whatever. But
speaking of House, this is something I want to talk about because I know a bunch of book fans are going on about this. And I've seen a lot of book fans complain about this. I don't get the criticism that the show is leaning too heavily on Team Green and not enough on Team Black. It's such a dumb criticism because it's what by adding more Team Green complexity, doesn't it make the war more interesting and more tragic? It's it enhances the story, it doesn't take away from it. So why are we bitching about this so much?
I can kind of get the argument that Team Green are doing more than Team Black are, because they are. Right, I can kind of see that.
But they also have royal money behind them.
But I think that's kind of the crux of the point, is that Team Black are kind of waiting. They're not the ones to make the first move because they're deemed as the kind of more decent of the two. But yeah.
Hey Nick, if you're not busy, do you want to join the stream and talk about Rings of Power? I will gladly send you this StreamYard link, sir. Actually, I will put my money where my mouth is. Here you go, Nick. Come join us, sir. If you want to talk big game, buddy boy. Check your Discord DMs, fucker.
Hey Luke, did you like your new Twitter name?
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. Chimere's a Sith. I'm glad I finally got the Oh, I'll be there shortly. Oh, I'm sure you will, friend. No,
I did also want to mention the ratings. I think whilst we're kind of on the subject of talking about the best episodes of the season, I think it might be worth kind of comparing the ratings of it on voiceback on IMDb. But what's funny is so opens up, all of them are pretty well performing. And then you've got SmallFolk that's got a 6.1 out of 10, which, for reference, Regent got an 7.5.
And I didn't.
How does that make? Well, the easy episode is that people didn't like lesbians. However,
gay people kiss? No.
Like, that's the easy explanation. But like, when you look at it, it is kind of mental, because Game of Thrones season 8, I think was only like, that was like a 6.5 for like the Bells. Like,
yeah, the Bells was
the Bells.
Yeah, but okay, like here's the thing. Can we talk about how Drogon is Cyrax and Sea Smoke and Drogon look exactly the same?
I did it side by side comparison. It's literally just like the curls on the horns. That is it. Otherwise, it's the same ass model. They've just recolored it.
I was wondering the same thing, if they were just using the same 3D model and they just retextured it.
I don't want to be quoted on that, because I've not again loaded it up into like some software and done like an analysis.
All right, time to take this in the blender.
It looks exactly the same, and the only difference I could see is the difference of the horns and the color.
I wonder if there's any lore there, because I know there's been debate in the community on who's like which eggs are Cyrax's or Dany's. I would rather it be Cyrax's.
Yeah, so
to be honest, because and this just might be my opinion, I think Rhaenyra is really trying to save, and it makes more sense if you think about it, that it comes from Cyrax, Rhaenyra, the true line, the true successor, who is trying to accomplishes Aegon the Conqueror's dream of keeping the Seven Kingdoms together stronger against the threat of the North.
It really depends
that is perfect
on which approach you want to take, because I believe in Fire and Blood, again, I may misquote names, it's a long book. I think it's Alyssa Farman who steals exactly 3 dragon eggs from, I think it might be Dragonstone, I'm not entirely sure, and then goes to Pentos and just disappears amidst Pentos with these eggs. Now, then having another 3 eggs sent in House of the Dragon, I think a lot of people were like, well, we liked Alyssa Farmer was also quite, from what I understand, a quite well-liked character. And that moment of being, oh, this is where Daenerys got her eggs from, like when it kind of came out. Again, not confirmed by any means. It's not official.
I like it.
That is the case.
I like it, though. I like it a lot because it connects the 2 series together so perfectly.
It does.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I had that when I just saw Ice, to be honest. That was...
Well, that's because you're
Cregan.
Way.
I would do...
Which, by the way, when Cregan comes into this whole thing, oh my god. Dude, I can't wait for the North. I can't wait for the Stark banners to show up. Oh my god, it's great. But joining us is the man.
Hello, good sir.
He said that he was in the comments. He was in here jabbing at me. And Nick, you put your money where your mouth is. How are you, Nick?
I'm very well, thank you, Luke. How are you?
I'm good. We'll get to talking about Rings of Power here in a second. But what's been your thoughts with House of the Dragon so far?
I've enjoyed it so far. I mean, like I haven't read Fire and Blood. I go in completely blind each season, but I've been really enjoying the story. To what people, who's Hereth saying earlier, I don't where that argument is about the disparity between Team Black and Team Green. It seems kind of a silly argument to me.
Most of them are, to be fair.
That's true. I mean, you could apply that to most any fandom, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've been enjoying it overall. I'm looking forward to this week's episode. I have no clue what's going to happen. I assume that Damon's going to have some more weird sex dreams with his mom.
I hope not, because that was the worst dream.
Nick,
that was the worst vision, to be honest.
It takes one more, and I'm not watching the show again.
The best part about
as he finishes the entire season and finishes out the entire series.
In the unreleased reaction of 5, it was hilarious because Alanis and I were like, "No, it's not his mom." And Chris is like, "It's his mom." We're like, "No, it cannot be." And then they confirm
that needs to be released soon because people are asking on the channel like, "Where is episode 5?" And I'm like, "It'll come out when it comes out." I got
a laundry list before I get to 5. 5 is right here at the bottom of everything.
I would say Rings of Power will probably take 5 should come out before Rings of Power.
Doing a reaction for the Rings of Power
trailer,
the new one.
Yeah, I did. It'll come out.
I completely forgot about it, and I was amidst the depth of editing my breakdown. I could wait to record this, or I'm watching it.
So that was kind of our episode 5 breakdown of House of the Dragon. If you're here for House of the Dragon and not for Rings of Power, like or episode 6. Sorry, I screwed that up on the Instagram post, by the way. And Hereth was like 6, and I was like, okay, got you. But no, Rings of Power dropped their final trailer before the show starts here in a little under a month, believe it or not.
29th of August.
And it's going to be pretty epic. Everybody here has seen the trailer. Nick, I'm gonna ask you first because you haven't been on the stream the entire time. What were your thoughts of what you saw in that trailer?
I mean, it looks to me like the scope of this season is going to be a lot bigger than what we saw in season 1.
Oh yes, a lot is going to be happening in this season.
I hear that Tom Bombadil is a bit of a dick, so I hope we don't see a lot of him.
You know what's funny is that when he was showing up, the way they used him in the trailer. A little bit of me was like, am I gonna start liking Tommy B? God damn you.
Is it wrong as me as the name of back in the Ninja that I hope we see more Tom Bombadil so I can see Luke get more pissed off at the show?
Well, it's not no. If they use him in like a sparing way, not completely too lore accurate where he's just being a goofy little self. Like I can deal with a little bit of goofiness. Not the whole thing, and it doesn't seem like it. It's gonna be a more serious Tom Bombadil, and I think that's probably best for the show.
Every 5 minutes, I'm stopping watching it and calling it what garbage.
Did he steal Gandalf's clothes though? Because he looks exactly like Gandalf's clothes in Lord of the Rings.
A little bit, minus the yellow boots. The yellow boots are a very big, important part of his character.
If Tom Bombadil isn't exactly how Don Marshall described him in his episode, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, the thing with...
Yeah.
I was going to say, kind of going on what you were saying about the wardrobe thing, that's just Tom Bombadil's kind of role. He's known only to the Astari as their wardrobe guy. That's the only connection Gandalf's got to him.
Yeah,
I want to hear a whole song about him giving Gandalf a makeover. Or the Stranger, or whoever it is.
And like, here's the other thing, like... Isildur is going to be going through the pass of Cirith Ungol. We're going to see him kind of discover that because I believe in the book, and I might be remembering this not correctly, but I'm pretty sure it's Isildur who discovers Cirith Ungol, like that pass, and the Númenóreans create that.
They make.
Because he's the one that makes Minas Ithil, which is Minas Morgul.
I thought that was his. No, his brother makes.
His brother makes Minas Tirith or Minas Arnor.
Yeah, he makes he makes Minas Ithil that then transitions to Minas Morgul by the time we have Lord of the Rings.
So, and I mean, that means Shelob. We don't know how long Shelob has been in that pass. She's been there a really long time.
If they don't make her sexy like she was in Shadow of War, I'm gonna be upset.
Oh yeah, she needs to be like
Nick, for context, they make Shelob's shapeshift into a very attractive woman in a ball gown.
It was so fucking weird.
And Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor are interesting games. They're good. And by the way, there will be
thank you. I was about to say that.
There will be. I mean, that game does touch on events that will be seen in this show.
Yeah,
could have been more.
And
what is the thing Celebrimbor always says in the Shadow games? It's like, we gotta protect the collateral.
No,
the Seeing Stones.
The Seeing Stones. He's always like every other sentence. He's like that.
By the way, you guys, I don't know if you guys caught it, but
I saw it. It looks amazing.
Pharazôn was touching the Palantir, and it was doing the old.
It was the Palantir. That's what it is.
Fire.
I'm not gonna say
that we see in the movie.
Okay,
they have done the Palantirs so much better in this with the whole visual effect of the screen shattering. Chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's been really, really
powerful
good.
objects, not just you can magically talk to Sauron when you wave your hand over it. It's like an actual.
And I will say
this is a really powerful thing.
So being what I had to wait because this stupid panel, like they dropped the trailer right as my 20-minute break was ending, and I couldn't do the reaction. So that's why it took me a little bit longer to do it. So then I had to stay off Twitter for about 2.5 hours. And
we're not the only ones.
So I had texted Dawn separately, and I was like, okay, so when is this happening? I want to be able to, because I have a 15 or 20-minute break at like 2:15. He told me, and I was like, okay, well, good luck there, because him and Emily, who will be doing reactions with me, Bale, and Nick, and possibly Chase. We'll see. We'll be doing the reactions to the show each week. Her, New Beta Do Beta, and a couple of other Tolkien creators were all invited to San Diego Comic-Con this week for obviously this panel, and it's like watching that is like what my goal is for this channel, is to get us into the opportunity to have those moments and meet up with those people, because that's really what this is about. It's community building, and this is what I want it to be, is us all communicating and all becoming one as like a whole community, not just Star Wars, but Lord of the Rings or A Song of Ice and Fire or Narnia or whatever you're
Narnia.
Well, because Greta Gerwig is doing the Netflix. Are those movies or those?
Is it Netflix or is it Disney? I thought Disney.
No, it's Netflix. It's Netflix. Yeah, Netflix is doing the Chronicles of Narnia with Greta Gerwig, the director of.
As like a show, right? They're not doing it.
I think it's a show. Like, if you want to get to like weird lore, Narnia's weird. Lore is super, super weird. It is so ass backwards. Like Tolkien's. Like a lot of people are like Tolkien's world building is so weird. Go read C.S. Lewis. It's almost as weird.
See, Tolkien's lore building isn't weird. I think he does a great job with it. It's just the Amoramalanth and the Tilialandalanth and the Solililanth and like every third line of just
and the Fingolfin, Finarfin, Galadriel, Miriel, all of these names, Isildur, Anarion.
People have a go at George R.R. Martin for making names too similar. At least there's an egg on the first, egg on the second, not just the same vowels and things.
That's so confusing as fuck.
And the fact that it's more historically accurate to how names were chosen. Look at England. I mean, look at where Bale's from. They've had how many Henrys? Oh wait, they ended up with like 10.
How many Charles?
Or 8?
That was the French.
Yeah, idiot. Don't link us with the French. That's the first way to
You guys intermingled.
Look, Bale, Luke just
what
has
are
the
you
Olympics on his brain. It's fine.
Anyway, so, but like, okay, back to the trailer. And Anatar, by the way, Charlie Vickers, I hope he is Sauron for the rest of the series.
I think he
They
will
were
be.
asked if he would be, and it was kind of up in the air on whether that they didn't really say yes or no. The showrunners didn't.
I think if they start putting like armor on him, there's going to be less of a reason to use Charlie Vickers. Whilst he still got his face out, I think that's going to be the kind of whole thing of like, oh
Well,
yeah, that's the face of Sauron. But the second they start putting him in like armor, like we saw in the preview and the first episode of the first series, like the 7-8 feet tall armored kind of menace. I think the second that starts getting cracked out, there's not really a reason to have Charlie Vickers playing him on set.
Well, I mean, it's like
it's how I would see it.
It's like the whole Hayden playing Vader thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
really.
Like,
you need a body type that's gonna fit that. And it just he looks so good as Anatar, and the fact that they're able to do Anatar, and this will kind of be not only just the trailer but also what was said at the panel. Somebody had asked about will we see other characters from the Legendarium show up? Because obviously we're seeing Tom Bombadil, Galadriel's in it, Elrond's in it, Gil-galad. They did mention that there is a chance that we might see Glorfindel. We might see Glorfindel, which is very, 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 very interesting.
Glorfindel not die already?
He is dead. Yes.
Well, he dies and then he comes back. We don't know when he comes back.
Yeah, we don't know when he comes back.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Clear.
It's during the fall of Gondolin. He's battling.
Fall of Gondolin.
It's a notoriously well-known Balrog.
It's in the first age of Middle Earth. Yes.
He kills him, and then dies,
and then 2 Balrogs.
He killed 2 Balrogs. Oh, Christ,
yes, he kills 2 Balrogs. Yeah, he's most famously known for killing 2 Balrogs, which, in a sense, with what is going on in Moria, which is something that I'm somewhat worried about, but not really.
I think it's just because of the timelines condensing.
Time constraints. It's the time constraints and the time jumping, and you're not going to get 16 seasons of this show.
I mean, look at House of the Dragon season 1. You've got 30 years of history condensed into one, and they've had to write granted, these characters are not very notable. There has been a couple that they have written out because of the time constraints of we can't, because otherwise we're shitting on our own timeline.
Well, and the other thing is that I can take off my lore hat for little changes like this because I understand the constraints that they're under.
Yeah, because the Tolkien estate sucks.
Yeah, they're notoriously just terrible for releasing rights and doing things.
The thing is, I think it's and this is the kind of thing I think how they view it is if you look at, and this is some of the issues that I kind of find when engaging on Lord of the Rings discourse. People take Peter Jackson's adaptation of Lord of the Rings and put that over Tolkien's. And that gets on my nerves because the number of times I have seen people complain about the Rings of Power not being accurate to the books and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, well, did you care for it when it happened in Peter? No, they're perfect.
And here's the thing. Christopher Tolkien was quoted as saying, my dad would have called these rubbish.
Bro,
he would have hated them.
If you read The Hobbit, how many pages is the Battle of the Five Armies? I'll give you a hint, or I'll tell you, it's 2. They made a 3-hour-long movie about it.
Guess what?
It was 2 pages.
They also made an hour and a half of Two Towers. How long is Battle of Helm's Deep?
Isn't it a page from what I've heard?
It's maybe 3 pages.
Yeah. And the Battle of the Five Armies as well. None of the things are even explained. It's literally
Bilbo gets knocked out. Your main character
in season 1 of Game of Thrones, where Tyrion just gets knocked down and wakes up.
Well,
it's exactly that with Bilbo. He wakes up and half the characters are dead.
Yeah, he doesn't know what happens, and that's literally the whole point. Because Tolkien's we're having the point of view of Bilbo. He's the main character. Why would we? explain anything else.
And he doesn't like his battles. Like he never really has. I mean, he has them in his story to kind of make it interesting.
Christopher was a better battle writer. Because I mean, look at the Silmarillion.
Yeah, not to be that guy, but like, let's be real. Like, battles and duels are kind of hard to write in books because how many times can you write the sword slash this hard over here? Explosion went off over here. Like I could see Tolkien being like, all right, let's just fast forward.
Well, no, I just genuinely think he didn't like it. And I mean, if you look at his experiences in life, he's just come out of a world war. I don't think he's going to be like, I want to write about how people are cutting themselves up in books after just experiencing it myself a few years ago. That's not really right. Or something that I can imagine him wanting to do.
You would hope not.
You'd hope not.
What's a big thing that kind of got you excited, Nick? Like, what was one shot that really got you excited?
Honestly, it was that end shot with Elrond leading the charge into the orcs.
Yes,
that,
Region.
Yeah, baby.
Seeing that, and I mean, like, and because Elrond is, whether it was the movies or even the first season of this show, was kind of shown as this politician, diplomat. So to see him leading the charge, not just being there reluctantly, but leading the charge, was quite cool.
Yeah.
The small shot of the Ents was also pretty neat. I did like the Ents.
Yes, because it's specifically the tree wives.
Yes, the Ent wives.
The Ent wives. Yeah, that's specific because it is rumored. It's rumored that the Ent wives were destroyed by Sauron specifically because he knew their power was pretty great, and that they would be a big threat to them, and then that's why the Ents aren't as involved in the events of Lord of the Rings until Merry and Pippin get there, and they ravel them all up.
Wives. I mean, from recollection, there's also a rumor that they went east.
There's a couple of their
it's never really kind of like explained.
It's never really explained. There's multiple.
It's a Benjen Stark situation.
It's a very open-ended. Like, Tolkien was just like, kind of just imagine, you know what? I'm going to leave it up to
use your brain.
You know what? I do wish he was less like that, because for the love of God, the number of times I've seen people saying this is how the orcs were created. No, we don't know how the orcs were created. Zip it.
I mean, it is explained. Morgoth does create them.
It's
out of his
not
own fashion.
Explicitly outlined as being that is so. There was, to my understanding, there were like several manuscripts on how it was going to be done. That is the most prevalent of them, but there are others as well. So there's there's not a clear line.
Is it like a pick your poison situation?
But I will say this: he does. That's the whole point for Morgoth, is that he wants to create life. He wants to be in control.
But he can't create life.
He
can manipulate existing life. Yeah,
but he does.
But he can't create it. That's the whole point.
So he's Darth Plagueis?
Bale. Are we just gonna say that?
I'm willing to, because me and Ella had this exact argument.
He created the fucking dwarves, man. Aule's the whole reason.
No. He created beings that didn't have their own life and consciousness. Orcs do have their own consciousness. That's the whole point. Iluvatar then steps in and gives them life. He doesn't create. He creates a being that is a kind of like just puppets. That they don't really do anything. But it is when Iluvatar steps in, gives them life, that they become their own individuals. Like the only reason I'm kind of so hot on this is because me and my girlfriend had like a 30-minute argument in the car about this, because I was like, Morgoth technically created life here. She's like, no, but he can't. I'm like, okay, well, then he corrupted the elves, and then
this is the most like Bale. The way you're describing it, it's like, I just imagine you sweating for glass.
Like, here's the thing. Like, that's the whole thing for Morgoth is that he wants to be in control. He wants to be Iluvatar. He wants to be heir Iluvatar, and he goes out of his way. Yes, he manipulates some of the elves to become orcs, but in a sense, he does, though. That's okay. So that's creating a new life form, is it not?
It is. However, he's not creating them from scratch. He's corrupting something that exists. Right. It's like you've got as like a Star Wars analogy, it's like you've got the Force and you've got the dark side. You can't create the dark side, but you can corrupt the Force, or like a red or a white kyber crystal, right? You can't just make it. You've got to purify a red kyber crystal to get it. That's the whole thing here, is that he's not creating it, he's manipulating what already kind of exists to get it. Like, that's my interpretation of it. I may well be wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm Tolkien's like.
I need Dawn. I need Dawn's. I need Dawn's.
Do we have New Better, Do Better on speed dial? I'm kidding.
My understanding.
I have both of them.
By all text them, because I will happily hold my hands up. But my understanding.
Hey, we're having a big giant argument about how orcs are created on our House of the Dragons discussion stream. Even though I don't know how we got here, but we did.
But we got here because I mocked Luke's yawning. That's how we got here. This whole thing started because of that one comment.
But to my understanding, the entire thing is Iluvatar is the only person that can create original life. Morgoth or Melkor wishes he could, can't. Aule doesn't exactly create unique life, as they're all kind of puppets. And it's only when Iluvatar steps in and gives them their own kind of individuality that they become dwarves. And then he just one of the theories with the orcs is that he corrupts the elves and then turns them into orcs, but he can't create his own individual
text message sent. But anyway, so your big thing was Elrond, right? And here's the other thing that begs the question: does Elrond establish Rivendell?
It's quite near where.
That was quick.
Did Don already respond?
I go, right. So we're having a discussion on Morgoth. He created the orcs from corrupting the elves, correct? He goes, that's typically agreed upon canon thing. So canon-wise, he is responsible for creating...
Typically agreed. Typically agreed, it's canon, meaning there are several explanations and there's not necessarily a canon.
Only discussed in the Silmarillion, which is actually his son's Christopher Lovechild of sorts. It's still from Tolkien, though.
Yeah, but I'm right.
No, you're not right.
I'm really enjoying this.
I love watching Luke squirm.
But here's the clarifying question, Luke, is that did he create the orcs from scratch?
Yeah.
No, he didn't create them from scratch.
So I'm right. Not the same
but it's creation, though. But it is in a way.
We're back to Khmer as a sim type of discussion.
It's manipulation.
Fine, whatever.
Well, but so I guess the question would be for me is like, so if there's like, it's almost between the difference of creating life from scratch and this is going to sound horrible, but it's going to be true. And it's like breeding two dogs to create a new breed. It's still a dog at the end of the day. But
you're still creating it. Oh,
Luke, I do have to say, Ella just like rolled and woke up and just looked at me. It's like, is this about the secret fire of the movement? Yeah. It is.
Okay, so here's kind of my predictions from seeing the trailer. Okay, so there's going to be 3 major events that happen this season. Or 4, possibly. Gandalf obviously meeting Tom Bombadil is sort of, it's not really big, but it's kind of big in his character development. With Nori. I think obviously Oregion is going to be attacked, Celebrimbor will be killed, and Sauron will get the 9 rings, and then we'll see the corrupting of the men later on.
Weaponized nuclear bombs.
2. We see the destruction of Khazad-dûm, and we see the dwarves go to and create Erebor and go up to the North Hills, stuff like that. But you will also see Durin take over and kind of lead the dwarves and be part, because there were some dwarves in the last alliance between elves and men. Were some dwarves. So I think that he's going to end up taking that role as leading the dwarves as a whole.
Yeah.
And then
can I quickly expound on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just about the dwarves, I am very, very excited to see the effect of the 7 Like that was something they deliberately put emphasis on. In that it's the one shot of him, and it really reminded me, and it was like almost like a callback to The Hobbit, where you've got the kind of gold sickness. I don't know the specific term that's plaguing over dragon sickness. That's the one. Thank you, Luke. Yep. That's plaguing over Durin. Oh, not Durin. I forget the name.
Thorin.
Thorin and Thrain and Thror. Thror specifically is the one I'm talking about. You have the kind of look in his face. And I feel like that's really paralleled when you get to the shot of Durin's father. It's him kind of with his axe, and you can just see the massive ring on his finger. And you can just see that kind of disassociation almost kind of somewhat discomfort and a sense of angst. Like anyone comes up to me and talks to me and tries to tell me what to do, not happening kind of thing. Like I'm really excited to see how the seven kind of take hold.
Well, and it's sad because we already see the split of the relationship between Durin the Third and Durin the Fourth in last season.
I mean, he's already been disinherited, hasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: that Balrog is going to fuck shit up in Khazad-dûm, man.
Yes,
so good. In that
it
trailer.
does. It very much does. I felt like the whole handling of the Balrog last season. The one part that I didn't like was that it was hinted that a Silmaril caused the Mithril, which I don't really like. It's not great. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's like
I think in the episode, didn't they say that was like a legend on how it happened, or is that
a legend? But like, if you put like how the Mithril acts to the elven trees, and it's very elven, like the Silmaril would make sense. It's the light of the two trees taken from obviously, and it's healing to that. That was how it was. I believe it was supposed to be represented, but like, oh man, like the dwarves. That whole thing is going to be so tough to see because that's probably got to be a season finale type of thing, right? Because well, and here's the other thing that I was about to touch on: Numenor. Numenor is going to be the political side of the drama here. It's going to be Pharazôn undermining Miriel at every turn, and he is going to begin the downfall of the Numenorians as we know it. Right?
100%.
And Elendil and Isildur. Well, Isildur eventually will have to get to Numenor. I don't know if that's going to happen this season. They're going to have to go a long ways from where they're at in at the end of season 1 because we don't even know what happened. Well, we knew that he was underneath the house, but we don't know anything else.
No, I think it's
what happened
kind
to Isildur last season.
Suggested that he falls under orc captivity and has to break free. And there's a couple of shots I think in the trailer with Arondir.
Yeah, Arondir. Arondir does a lot of things as well. So that's gonna be obviously those two are gonna get together.
Yeah.
But Numenor, the eagle being there is very, very, very interesting because the eagles do have like a homestead in Numenor. I think it's in the tallest height of the mountain. I can't remember what that mountain is. But a lot of this season is going to be moving parts. I think the biggest one is going to be obviously Oregion being destroyed, Celebrimbor dying, and Sauron learning how to make these rings and then making his own for next season. And I think Khazad-dûm falling this season makes sense. I think Numenor falling in season 3, and then we have the
Isn't
Alliance.
the show supposed to be 5 seasons?
Yeah, so maybe they'll elongate it, maybe because they still will. Okay, so half of season 3 will be them going and capturing Sauron. Like the Numenorians go back into Middle Earth and they establish a foothold and they capture Sauron and they bring him back.
That's probably how they get Isildur back to Numenor. Then
he ends up manipulating Pharazôn, and Pharazôn and him create sacrifices. They create buildings in the name of Morgoth. So they go and the Numenorians end up sacrificing lives of the faithful. So you end up having two sections of Numenorians. You have the faithful who are true to the old ways of Numenor, where they had relations with the elves and they had they spoke Elvish.
And they kind of uphold the actual gods, not
exactly
just
of Elros. And then you have the other, I can't remember exactly what their faction was. Basically, yeah, Pharazon's fuck faces. And they're the ones that are turning away from Iluvatar. They're turning away from the Maiar and everything, and they turn their noses up to it. And that's what ends up screwing with Numenor. That's why it sinks. And Sauron is a big factor in that because he gets into Pharazon's ear. He's like, hey, the elves have immortality, but like you could go and you could take Valinor away from the gods. Like no god is better than the Numenorians. You guys have done these amazing feats and whatnot, and it gets in Pharazon's head. And Pharazon goes, okay, we're going to go try to take Valinor, which, by the way, lore-wise, no man besides
Elrond's father,
Eärendil, is the only man that has ever stepped foot on Valinor. Only person. No man is allowed to step on Valinor.
And he got a magic boat from it. And a Silmaril.
Yes, yeah, and he got one of the Silmarils, and he killed the dragon with it. So Eärendil is pretty awesome, and that's why he's so revered in the way, especially when Celebrimbor talks about him to Elrond, and when Elrond talks to Durin about being the son of Eärendil, like it's a big thing. But like that's the whole thing, is that the men of Numenor feel slighted. And they want to take everything back from the gods, basically. And Iluvatar's like, good joke. Bam! There goes your island. So those are the events that I think are going to be coming in the next couple of seasons. But I think particularly this season, I think Sauron showing up in Khazad-dûm is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's gonna have to deliver the rings.
He's gonna have to deliver the rings, and he's gonna have to.
Oh, of course, because they're gonna be making. He's gonna make all of them. I mean, my inclination from the trailer then is the last he makes are the 9, and that's then when the Siege of Aragon. Because in the trailer it showed that shot of Anatar, Sauron in Anatar's form, going, "Give me the 9." I'm assuming they'd gone out and they distributed all the other ones.
Yes. 9 rings for men, 7 for the dwarf lords, 3 for the elven lords.
Cue the Bear McCreary song that kicks ass.
It's a banger, dude. I love that. But
I mean, weren't the elves were wearing, like, because Galadriel and Celebrimbor and sorry, I forget the other guy's name. They were
Círdan the shipwright.
They were wearing more rings than that in that trailer. Were they not?
So the ones that you see on their fingers are not. So the main ones that are the main shots, the blue, the red, and the white.
Yeah.
Those are the main rings that you are supposed to be looking at. The other ones really have no significance. Because
there are minor rings of power, but
they aren't rings of power specifically. And apparently before the panel started, there was a trailer that was played with narration of Charlie Vickers as Sauron. And
there was an exclusive trailer?
Yeah, I think there was, and there was something said about him stating, "I am the Lord of the Rings."
Interesting. So has he made the 1 yet?
No, he hasn't. He hasn't, because he still needs that knowledge. He still needs that knowledge. And
Lord of the Rings can.
That's why he doesn't need Celebrimbor anymore. And then he creates. So that's your setup.
I'm struggling to see how they're going to make 5 seasons of this without dragging things out seriously. Although I guess a lot of it's kind of original story, so it's possible.
I feel like 4 seasons kind of feels right for the show, from the way that you guys are describing it.
I mean,
I'd
they
agree
can
with that.
elongate quite a bit. I mean, they also have to have the stranger figure out what he's doing. We're completely just missing that, and we get to see Rune, which, by the way, we never get to see Rune in any of Tolkien's lore. Like, we don't touch it very often, so we're seeing a whole new civilization come from scratch.
Essentially.
And go ahead.
We're 90% sure that the stranger is Gandalf. Yeah.
Yeah, 90% Gandalf, but I think it could be one of the Blue Wizards.
Okay.
In Tolkien's Legendarium, there are 2 blue wizards that show up 1,000 to 2,000 years before the rest of the wizards show up, and they are mostly thought of going east, like to Rune, to kind of combat Sauron's efforts of taking over the east, and it doesn't work.
A kind of point of reference is the Ring of Fire that we see given to Círdan the shipwright. That is supposedly passed over to Gandalf in secret when he arrives. So Círdan is a bearer of it for a while, then it goes to Gandalf. So if we're looking purely at the lore, no, it can't be Gandalf. However, the idea that they're going to adapt it to be Gandalf, they're going to change it, it's possible.
It could still... Well, but here's the other thing, Bale. Gandalf could show up from the opposite side. Like, he could come from Rune and he could do all of these things.
No, he arrives on a boat with the rest of them, doesn't he?
I know, but I'm saying for the show's purposes,
it would be a kind of cheap thing, in my opinion. But yeah, they could.
What are they going to do? They can't grab from it. Their hands are tied.
No, they can't. That's what I'm saying. I think
unless they feel an absolute oopsie doopsie.
No, like, here's the other thing. Like, my thing is that that's my argument. Like, oh, well, why didn't they do this? Because the Tolkien estate wouldn't let them have those rights. They can't do these things. That's my biggest argument. Like, when people bitch about this show, it's like, it's pretty lore accurate to what they can do.
Yeah. And I think some people do kind of come up with the argument, well, if they shouldn't have the rights, then they shouldn't have made the show in the first place. And
that's fair.
No one can get the rights, and if your viewing requires the rights, then don't watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
There are books. Go read them.
And like, here's the other thing. Nick just finished. He recently finished, like a couple of months ago, the first season. So, like, Nick, what are some answers that you're wanting from this season? Like, what are things that you were kind of wondering, but also kind of like, as like a viewer that isn't as deep into it as me or Bale?
Yeah.
What really, I know Elrond for sure, but like, what other aspects of the first season that you're wanting to see kind of be fleshed out in this season?
I mean, I do want to see more of Numenor. I think like we got a taste of it, but I think, knowing what the political climate was turning into when they left to come Middle-earth and coming back to the destruction that they saw in the finale, I want to know what the ramifications of that is going to happen. Like what's going to happen with the queen and her standing, given that she was away when it seems like her town was destroyed by something.
Well, I think the ramifications are so. Are you talking about when Mount Doom erupts?
Yeah.
So that had nothing to really. That wasn't a Numenorian thing.
Okay.
But the ramifications of what you're trying to say are very significant, because she is the leader, and now she's blind, and now she comes back, and her father's dead. And now she has to explain how this venture went wrong. And you're absolutely right. You were just a little off, but I wanted to get you in the right. But you were in the right spot. But no, you're absolutely right. Numenor is something that I really cannot wait to dive into, because I love Aragorn. Obviously, if you can't tell, I Aragorn, and I mean, I have
get the sword out. Get the sword out.
The sword. No,
get the sword out. Describe your D&D character.
No, I'm not going to. But anyway, Numenor was my favorite last season, and I think it will be interesting because there's not going to be a whole lot of action in Numenor. Like, people, yeah, exactly, and like people will probably complain about it, but like you also have to set up Farazan being the bad guy eventually, because that's what you have to get him to.
Well, and I think they started to drop those hints in season 1. Like you
Oh
started
yeah,
to see him listen to people who weren't on the side of the Queen and starting to take into account and really be an advocate for their viewpoint. So it'll be interesting to see what, especially once he realizes, and I mean I don't know how much of a time jump there may be between S1 and season 1 and season 2.
probably not a huge jump.
How his demeanor is going to change once he realizes that the Queen is not fully able necessarily to lead Numenor.
Yeah, and that's where he'll undermine her even more. That's when he will take over and completely change the whole ball game.
Yeah.
And that's very, very important for the rest of the story of Middle-earth.
I have just remembered something.
Yeah.
Because I rewatched season 1 recently. We've also got Elendil's daughter going up to the Palantir at the end of last season. I completely forgot about that.
Yes, and she will be a big player because I think she will end up creating those cathedrals, those sacrificing buildings for Morgoth. She will be the person that builds.
Well, architect, so
yeah, she's an
wanting
architect.
to get credit without Farazan.
Or she turns back to the light and the faithful, and she survives with Anarion, Elendil, and Isildur, and she goes to Middle Earth, and she
That's
helps,
another
and
point,
helps,
actually.
Yeah, Anarion.
Sorry, Luke. Yeah, no, you keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Or she comes back with her family and goes to Middle Earth when Numenor sinks, and she creates Minas Anor, Minas Ithil. She helps build those establishments, and then goes north with her father and creates those like is the architect with that as well, which I find really good. It would be really, really nice touch because we don't know much about the creation and stuff like that. So that's what I'm thinking that they could do. But it would also be really good writing for her to be part of the destruction, even though her family is so heavily on one side, and she just doesn't see the things that they are seeing until it's too late.
Yeah,
that would also be a really good story point.
I mean, she's a completely original character, I believe.
Yes, she is.
Yeah,
she is a original character.
Well, I mean, I'm very interested as well with Anarion because we touched upon it briefly. There, what is going? Because they've not said he's dead.
No, he's not dead.
They've said
he's in the west.
He's in the west.
He's in the west.
Which is
where most of the faithful.
Yeah, that's where the faithful are. So
yeah, that's where
I'm assuming. I mean, that probably just Elendil's going to come back from the war and immediately want to reconcile with his other son because he thinks his.
I would imagine so. But who knows?
Kind of point of progression, I would have thought.
But Hereth, what do you want to see?
I mean, I really have no base of emphasis because I'm the most casual Lord of the Rings fan. So, and season 1 was like forever ago. And most of this discussion, I've been like sitting here going, I have no idea what the fuck y'all are talking about.
We need to have a rewatch of that season. We need to do a rewatch of that season, I think. I think starting next week, we'll pick out a day and we'll rewatch in the Discord server. And we'll do a rewatch, kind of that to make it fresh. Every week will be a new episode. Because this last season was, I thought it was really, really good. It had its missing points, but like for what I saw in that trailer, oh my God, buckle up, people.
Absolutely.
If you didn't like season 1, it's gonna be the season 2 will probably turn it around, and if you really love season 1, it's gonna make it so much better. Oh, cannot 110%. Wait.
What if I just liked it?
What?
So what if I just liked it? You're like, either you love it, you're gonna love it more. If you hated it, you're gonna like it or love it.
You don't have to love it, but like it'll be, if you liked season 1, I think you'll like season 2.
And if you think it's woke garbage, you'll still think it's woke garbage.
Yeah, probably. But I think this is a good spot to end.
Yeah.
I know Hereth has got to get to a screening of
The new Deadpool.
Deadpool and
Whenever I'm wearing the
Wolverine.
shirt.
And I feel like me and Bale have been holding the conversation for way too long.
No, it's been good.
I do apologize.
No, I've been watching the
argument
people.
was a little bit.
No, I've been literally watching people click into the stream and then immediately click out because they're like, "This is not House of the Dragon."
No, yeah.
For like the last 45
we
minutes.
We should have. Yeah, you know, that was
That's
kind
on
of
me.
But no. That's on me because I should have said something to Hereth earlier in the week because I knew something was coming with San Diego Comic-Con. But next week will be more obviously House of the Dragon. We'll have a little bit more prepared. We'll have I think one guest on with us to talk House of the Dragon, at least the next episode, and then the finale. And then I don't know if we're gonna keep doing live streams on Fridays if there's nothing to really talk about.
I feel like next week in the finale there'll be 100% things to talk about with the way that they're going.
No, but I mean after House of the Dragon's over.
We got what, just like a few weeks though between that.
We got a few podcast week episodes, right? and then we go straight into
the
Outlaws
one podcast episode is going to be
Power.
Outlaws and Rings, I believe, released on the same day. It's the 29th.
Oh my god, they released on the same day? Fuck me.
Yeah. You'll have one of you running streams for Outlaws while the others are watching.
Oh shit! Yeah, it does. It drops that. It doesn't. It drops on the 30th.
I thought it was the 29th.
I thought it was the 30th.
Let me Google it.
Y'all. Okay, whatever. I mean, I will be. Yeah, we'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll all be fine. We'll get that.
We'll divide and conquer.
Well, I mean,
30th. Sorry, it's the 30th.
But still one day.
That's still the next day.
Hereth, you got to wake up and continue editing.
Fuck.
No.
I'm back in the dungeon.
We'll see. I mean, Outlaws looks fun, but I'm gonna be in a big college football. I'm still in a big college football mood lately because Podwans started our own little college football online dynasty on PS5. So
it's getting competitive in that group chat, folks.
Going?
Great.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
we're
all in Nebraska, and it's great.
Yeah, I still have to play my game. No, I don't. I won my game. I won 72-21. Never mind. I smoked the other. It was also an FCS team. But anyway, Nick, where can the good people follow you on the social medias?
The good people can follow me on Twitter and TikTok at NDWiseGuy. I primarily talk about Star Wars and the High Republic, but I probably will start talking about the Rings of Power since we're now within a month or so of it premiering. So
we're gonna make you a nerd.
I already am.
Yeah, we're gonna make you a bigger one. You're not gonna have a lot.
Oh no, you're not.
Come on.
Just wait until you start getting into Lord of the Rings merchandise. Holy shit, that's a whole nother thing. Bale, where can the good people follow you on the social medias?
Oh well, they can mainly find me actually now because I've kind of transitioned to mainly YouTube at Grandmasterbale. And also on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, although Twitter is a hellhole that I very rarely touch. I am on there. But yeah, primarily over on YouTube.
Also, Elon Musk, you can suck my fucking dick.
Oh, but the whole terms of service thing?
No, not even that. The fact that we have to pay for a blue check mark for us to go live on our Twitter is absolutely stupid.
So you know what you should do? Because I have a friend who bought it for a month, accidentally canceled it, and they just let them keep it. So they still have all the benefits of a blue check mark, and they haven't paid for it in
I wouldn't put it past their shoddy management. They probably
but also we have to give Elon Musk money.
I don't want to give him money. He's a fuck. Fuck him. Anyway, Hereth, where can the good people follow you?
The good people can find me at Hereth Productions on TikTok, Hereth_edits on Twitter. Fuck Elon Musk. And of course, now you can find me over on Twitch.tv where I'm playing rhythm games. So you can find me playing Fortnite Festival tomorrow and some bonus songs for Terraria 1.
Do you remember to save your game?
I did because you can access that.
Yeah, he actually has a
memory
PS2.
card because I'm playing on
He's
a
got a memory card.
PS2.
Yeah, he's playing a PlayStation 2. So yeah, he needs to.
Funnily
spot,
enough, on the subject of the safeguards, we came across like my cousins used to come around before I was about. We found their old like memory cards for an original PlayStation like in the loft, and they still have data on them. Like it was kind of cool,
dude. Those are ancient.
OG.
But you guys can follow me at Jedi Master Eggs, and you can follow us at the Podwans. We will be back next week to talk about episode 7 of House of the Dragon. And we will have a reaction out whenever it comes out. And yes, people that are watching, episode 5 will eventually come out. I'm not going to hound Hereth for it. He will get it out when it's good and ready. If that means it's after the season's over, so be it. I am okay with that because nothing really happened in that episode. But and then we will be I think our last live stream for a while will be not next Friday but the following Friday.
Big things are gonna happen.
I won't be there for the final stream. I will be at a bachelor party. Actually, thanks for reminding me of that. So I won't be there. And then we'll get into I think 2 pre-recorded podcasts. And then we'll be into Rings of Power
and Outlaws.
And Outlaws. That's pretty much the game plan for the next couple of weeks. But that's going to be it for this episode. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so you never miss any of our content. And till next time, Dracarys.
Angos.